We're looking at a picture of what year is this Accord? 93 Accord.
93 Accord.
The background is pretty immaculate in front of a Toyota dealership. The car has patina. The paint is all worn off the hood.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are going to hate what I have to say about this.
I like that a car dealer is selling something this cheap and junky. But what's weird about it is the photo. You have to go to our website to see it. It's a picture of this immaculate dealership and this horribly junky car, like, photoshopped in front of it. It looks like it's sitting in front of the dealership. It just doesn't look right. It's just hilarious. And we sort of made a joke about how that's the state of the used car market right now. Welcome to another episode of the Autopian podcast. I'm Dave Tracy. I'm hanging out with Torch, who is, of course, still in his basement.
Hello.
And Beau Bachman, who I think is going to be the perfect person to talk to about today's subject. Because we're talking used cars.
Used cars. I love used cars. Who doesn't love used cars?
Everyone.
Right. Exactly. Used cars. The Autopian on our site, we've written a couple of stories about used cars this past week, and they have crushed. The whole world seems to be reading about used cars. And I think there's a pretty good reason why. Things are getting kind of weird with used cars. So we're going to discuss that. And then we're going to talk with Kevin Williams, a fellow car journalist who is pretty well versed when it comes to used cars, especially at the bottom of the market. So we're pumped to see. It's an
interesting part of the market, too.
Yeah, and I'm really interested in hearing about this too. We deal less in that side, and I'm really curious his take and perspective on things. So
every car on the road is a used car. Did you know that, David? Every single one you see.
Well, that's all cars run on used parts. That's what the local junkyards say.
That's right. They do. Every single one.
Although technically, if I've got a dealer plate and I've got a car, anyway, never mind. I can drive a new car around the block and it still be new, as long as I don't go too far.
Wow, that's a good point. That's like the
what is the line before it becomes used?
Well,
demonstrator, new or used?
It's demonstrators. Anything that's actually used for any type of purpose has to be sold as a used car on the contract. So it could be a new car sold as a used car. So all demos and like that are kind of a little bit of both in a weird way. So on one side it's a new car, on the other side it's a used car. So it's a little vague.
Is there a certain is there a mile cap where you think a car ceases to be a new car?
Not really, because you could sell a car with 0 miles on it and it'd be a used car immediately. At the same time, I'm trying to think. I think in California there is, but I should know this. Jeez, I don't think there's an exact mile. Like, boom, it's a used car. I think it has to do with its use and what it's used for.
So you can sell a car with 15,000 miles on it, and if it's the right car,
and that's what I'm thinking. There's got to be something. I should really do my homework.
What if it's like a 2008 car with 0 miles on it?
Oh yeah, is that new or used? Never owned.
So.
This is getting into philosophy. I like it.
It is. I feel like, we're going to
it's funny. I'm thinking about the law, not philosophy, because I could argue that is a new car still.
Really? If it's never been sold to a person,
correct.
That counts as a new car.
Well, that's kind of how we count new versus used.
I mean, I kind of agree with that.
For the most part.
What if it's age-wise not new? What if it's like from 2008, it's been sitting in a warehouse. It's not used. You're right, though. It's not used, but it's also not. It's no longer new.
Yeah, what is new is really the question.
Stock, right? I guess, is the thing.
And sometimes we'll get a brand new car and it's got 100 miles on it because they took it out for testing and proper things, or even 150 miles. Sometimes a little bit more. So it doesn't have to do with mileage. Okay, I'll do my homework and I'll get back with you.
Okay. It's interesting.
Looks like there may be a definition for used car, but it's not a great one. According to Federal Trade Commission, a used vehicle includes all vehicles that have been, quote, driven more than the limited use necessary in moving or road testing a new vehicle prior to delivery to the consumer. Includes demonstrators and company cars. However, a vehicle sold as scrap or for its parts. Okay. All right. I mean, sounds to me like you can just drive around all you want and then sell it as new.
Yeah, because a demo, like I said, it still has a new car contract, and it's sold as a new car on one side, but also as a used car. Anyway, it's
this is tricky. This is like the what's the name of the thing with the knife if the handle changes and the
something paradox.
Or whose boat is it?
Theseus. Ship of Theseus.
Ship of Theseus. Right. Exactly. Yeah. This is interesting. All right. Should we ask Kevin his opinion?
Yeah. Well, let's bring him on. Kevin, this is Torch. You met Torch. This is Beau. We are.
Nice to meet you.
Kevin and I were just.
Look at that excitingly blank room Kevin's in. Also.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
You just moved in, right?
No, this is actually my old house. I'm paying rent on 2 different places because
Smart. Good move.
Yeah. So I'm in 2 different places right now.
And so Kevin and I were just running around the Detroit junkyard, and I have to say, Kevin, your knowledge of the real bottom of the market, not even just used cars, I mean the bottom of the car market, it's not just incredibly detailed, but it's useful to people who are in that spot.
Fantastic. I want to learn something today.
Good.
So I'm looking forward to this.
So before we get into that, let's just talk about the used car market in general. So, because we've written a couple of stories, and actually before we get into that, we need to talk a little bit about you. I want to introduce you to Beau. Where are you? You're in Columbus right now, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Town's motto.
Hey, Columbus, Ohio. That's where Reichert Ford is at. Those guys are cool.
It is. Oh, okay. Yeah, Reichert.
They got their lake in the dealership. You can go.
They have a lake? Did you say a lake?
Yeah, they've got a bunch of stores and this lake. It used to be shaped like the shape of Ohio, and you could take little rowboats out on it and stuff.
Wait, what is this? An outdoor lake?
They got their own
it's
street and street light up inside the property. It's kind of a crazy place.
It's a huge place. It has its own little coffee shop and it's like a small little town, but it's all dealerships.
Yeah, they got a little Subway. They got a gym over there. You can work out. And they sell used cars, baby. Oh boy.
God, yes. Yeah. I looked at a car there, but I guess their used car lap or test drive route is a closed test track.
What?
Oh.
Yeah.
They
that's
have
one
their
thing.
Test track for used cars?
Yeah, but it's
just
make
it
really
nice and
tiny
flat.
though. It is, and I was just oh, come on. He was do you like the car? And I'm I don't know. I honestly don't know.
If I had a test track, I would make it glass smooth.
Well, it was, and I think
you gotta have bumps.
I feel for a lot of buyers, that's enough for them. Yeah. So they're they fall in love with it.
We have this hill over here. It's called Woodley Hill. It's the only hill kind of in the center of the valley. At every test drive I would go on, I would take people on that hill because it looks super steep, right? And once you get on it, you realize, oh, okay, it's not that bad. But every car, once you get on there, it feels like it's doing its job, unless you're in a total pig. Then it really, it's okay. But I always enjoyed having something challenging on the route, so people got to really experience what the car's like in different conditions. We go on the road, we take it on the freeway. If they want to go off roading, I don't know about that, but we try to let them experience it, right?
Yeah, I like going by myself.
Yeah, we did that.
I remember the first time
for people.
You don't have to do the annoying salesperson all the time.
Does Galpin let people drive on their own, or do you always have someone with them?
Oh, we do now. I mean, it used to be not. We would do a borrowed car agreement and let people borrow a car for either hours or a day or two.
Oh,
depending on the circumstance, and that way they can take it home, take it to work, and really have an incredible test drive. Or since COVID, we would do them and let them go for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever time that felt right. So yeah, we do that. Good. Why wouldn't we?
Has anyone ever tried to steal a car in a test drive like that?
Of course. Of course. Actually, I got one quick story. So the best test drive attempted theft is we had this salesperson go out on a test drive, and he was out with a customer. The customer asked him to look over and pulled a gun on him as he's driving. Now, here's the thing. The salesperson formerly was a running back for the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, God.
So the first thing they did is they picked like literally the buffest car salesman you've ever seen in your life. And that was the guy that they decided to rob, which first part they're dumb. Because Tony grabs the guy's hand with the gun, puts it down, and just starts beating the guy's face. And just completely beat him down and called the cops, and he was arrested. So yes, it does happen, but I would rather give it to somebody and let them drive it than have them pull something on me. But anyway, it happens.
Yeah, you got to do it on your own. And Kevin, you ever been on those? You review quite a few cars. That's part of what you do is you write all sorts of stories, but you're great at reviewing cars. You ever go on a press drive where like the PR person's like, "Hey, can I ride with you?"
No, so I feel like because I got my, professional start during COVID, everything's been like solo until like this latest press drive, which I had a not a minder, but a drive partner.
Yep.
And it was just like, it's not the same. It's really great. Like when you like drive by yourself, especially like they want you to follow the route, and I'm just like, no.
yeah, just do your own thing, right?
You got like, I'm not doing that.
Take photos and things. Yeah, it's always a pain when you have to accommodate someone else with that.
Yeah, you have to split it in half, and it's just like, and the Nero has like 3 different variants, so like it was really, really hard, switching between like 3 different cars and like another driver. But what can you do?
You know what? I once had a co-driver who, I shouldn't. My most terrifying press drive should not be the Ford Fusion Sport. Like, there's no reason why that should be a remotely terrifying press drive, but it was
the first gen or first and a half gen.
It was like 2017, I think. 18.
Oh, so Gen 2. Gen 2.
Yeah, and I was in there with someone from one of the Buff books. I don't remember, Motor Trend Car and Driver, someone, and his whole thing was like, I got to see if this thing can handle like an Audi, like they say it can. And so he just freaking whipped this thing around we were in central Michigan. I was holding on for dear life. And it was just like, why are we even doing this? It does not matter. Like on public streets. Yeah. Have you not had that? If you haven't had that happen.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm that guy. Accidentally,
Don't be that guy. You do not.
I'm not trying to be like, oh, I just want to see what it can do. Like,
I like that guy, David. I like that he was like trying to put it through its paces and push the car a little bit.
Exactly. Well, it says sport on it, right?
But come on,
you're supposed to beat up those cars. They're press cars. You're supposed to ruin them.
Exactly. They're gonna be destroyed, right?
Don't take it to the limit on a public street.
They sell the used cars.
That's true. Yeah. Oh man.
We get those press cars sometimes.
Do you really?
Yeah.
We get offered them sometimes. Yeah.
Oh.
I had a friend of mine ask me, it's like, oh, what happened to the press cars? I'm like, you really don't want one of these.
You don't want a press car.
No, you do not.
You do not want one of these. They are absolutely awful. I'm going to close this window shade because it is shining behind me.
Is that your first used car advice? Is do not buy a press car, a used press car?
That's solid advice.
I think so too. I'm in it. No flood cars.
No rental cars.
No rental. Yeah, actually, I think rental cars are great to buy.
Oh, really? Oh,
absolutely.
Why is that?
So I've worked at a couple dealerships as lot porters, and I would say that like the worst trades we used to get were like people who had like older cars, or not even older cars. It'd be like cars that they purchased, and they're like, oh, it's been so taken care of, and it really wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything would be like worn out and like bald tires or whatever, versus like, I think there's like a margin of, there's like a standard, like, things that rental companies have to do to maintain their fleet.
True.
And they turn them over pretty quickly. Also, it's kind of unavoidable, especially if you're looking for any sort of small crossover or like sedan. It's probably been through Avis or
I will
Hertz
say,
or whatever.
my brother bought a 2007 Dodge Caliber rental car, which
Why
that
did you let
is
him do that?
the absolute worst car you could do. I mean,
Why
a rental
did you let him
Caliber
do
with a
that?
CVT. He did put 200,000 miles on it, and it was a good car to him somehow. So I mean, I don't know. I do think you're probably right. They probably maintain it.
They at least have to get oil changed and like.
Yeah.
I feel like customers are too dumb to like really drive them into the ground, like they used to. Does that make sense? I feel like
I don't know.
Well, it
I
used
feel
to
like
be like a thing to wreck a rent-a-car. I mean, that was kind of like if you didn't do something to a rent-a-car when you're driving it to kind of mess with it, you were doing something
Right.
wrong.
Yeah, what's the
I
point?
think today people are a little bit more cautious. I think the rent-a-car companies have clamped down a little bit and start charging, and to me, it's less of a thing. It's like rock stars that used to wreck the hotel room, right? It used to be a thing. It's not as much anymore. And to your point, rent-a-cars are actually kept up pretty well. If there's a problem with them, they're right into the shop. They have to maintain them. They have to keep them clean. They're probably cleaned more than any other car.
They do.
Because how often do you clean your car, David? Right?
Exactly.
Have you ever cleaned your car?
Exactly.
Rent-a-car's cleaned every day or every time somebody drives it. So I am not opposed to rent-a-cars being sold, and I'm glad you're not either.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you can't just destroy a rent-a-car and give it back these days. So I went to Fort Lauderdale this year for vacation, and I was like, oh, it's a vacation, so I'm going to spend a little money, and like, instead of buying like the cheapest, whatever, Chevy Spark, I decided to splurge for an Altima, thinking that they would upgrade me, and they didn't. So I ended up with a rental Altima, and somebody stole the hubcaps.
Wow.
Jeez. I didn't know that was still a thing.
What are they doing?
I
with
didn't
that?
know. I don't
Yeah.
know. It was so it's funny because I went out and the night before, and I came back, and like I left the car at the hotel, and I came back, and I was like, well, and it was angle parking, and I backed in. So I come out to go get in the car, and there's like one hubcap missing, and I'm like, did I like hit a pothole or something? And like
They just took one?
And then I look around the whole car, and they stole all of them.
Oh, all of them. Okay, that makes more sense. Did the wheels look a little better without the hubcaps? Were like the plastic ones?
And they were like actual plastic ones that actually kept like.
What are they doing with them?
I don't know.
Yeah,
But
it's
I tried like calling the Nissan dealer because I'm like, well, let me just replace them myself, and they were like $160 a piece.
What? That's insane. They are
Well,
not
that's why
worth
they
it.
were stolen.
I don't get it.
I guess.
I get stealing a hubcap in the 70s when every car has hubcaps. Maybe you could sell it to someone who needs them. If you steal hubcaps today, you're not finding a buyer. You're not getting anything out of it.
I guess so. If you have a Nissan Altima, I guess, because I tried calling junkyards and like nobody had any.
Yeah, maybe
And
they're in demand.
then the Nissan dealers only had 3.
Well, they're all alloys now, right? I mean, even Altimas are mostly alloys, I assume.
Absolutely not. It was it was a 2022 S. It didn't even have CarPlay. I didn't know cars didn't come with CarPlay anymore.
Wow.
So what did they charge you?
$334.
Damn.
Ouch.
That is so not worth it. Oh, God.
I was so angry, and I was just like, God damn it.
Did you take the extra
What if you just went to
insurance?
Pep Boys and just bought like $20 ones? You think they would have
I feel like they probably wouldn't have, and I should have done that.
Damn, that would have been good.
But it was just like, no, I'm going to be the nice guy. And like,
look, I respect that you were going to do the right thing, but boy, did that not pay off.
oh man, I was so angry. And then when I was in Denver, I had a Mirage, and it had no hubcaps
Right.
and 78K.
Oh, really? That's a hard
it
one
was,
for a
it
Mirage.
was a hard. This car had a hard life, and it had like a fork just like dangling around in the trunk. And I'm like, what is that noise? And I go in the back, and it's a fork.
A fork, yeah. You're gonna need that's used
Like
for the tire replacement kit. The fork's a key part of that. Wow.
Oh, man.
Okay, but speaking of Mirages, I'm very curious to hear what you think of, since we're talking low end of the market.
Oh,
I've
God.
had people who just need just some basic crap to get to and from work. What's your pick? David, what would be a good number for us to do? Sub 2,000 or sub 2,500? What do you think?
Well,
Inflation.
yeah. So I think we should talk about the very bottom of the market, but I think we should talk about just the used car.
Okay.
Let's first talk about the whole used car market right now and
Yep.
reference some of the stories that we wrote on our site that did really well. So we sort of made fun of a car dealership that's selling. Let me show you this. This is
Oh God.
So
okay. So this is a car dealership that's selling a 345,000 mile Honda Accord, and it's not just like in the back lot and they're going to
That's
give it
the
to their
picture they
nephew.
picked. Also, wait, we should pause.
I
Since
love
again
this.
we're on audio. Let's describe this photograph. We're looking at a picture of what year is this Accord? 93 Accord.
93
It's that teal
Accord.
green.
Where is
The
this at?
background is pretty immaculate in front of a Toyota dealership. The car has patina. The paint
Patina's
is
a good
all
way of
worn off
saying
the
it,
hood.
yeah.
Oh,
It
you guys are
looks-
gonna hate what I have to say about this. Keep going.
It's
looks
it
sad.
was green. Now it's green and brown and red.
Green and brown and gray. It's got a dent in the door, and it's just this.
Wait,
is the car
wait.
they picked.
It doesn't have a dent in the door. It has dents in every panel that I mean.
It's
it
hideous.
isn't a
It's-
dent. You can't
You're
find
right.
a spot that doesn't have a dent on
It's
it.
absolutely hideous. Here's the thing. I like that a
could-
car dealer is selling something this cheap and junky. But what's weird about it is the photo. You have to go to our
Yeah,
website
this
to see it. It's a picture of this immaculate dealership and this horribly junky car, like, photoshopped in front of it. It looks like it's sitting in front of the dealership.
It's
And it
Photoshop.
just doesn't look right. It's just hilarious.
Oh,
Anyway,
man.
and we sort of made a joke about how that's the state of the used car market right now. But anyway, what do you have to say about this,
yeah,
Kevin? You said-
Kevin, what do you think?
So you know what's crazy? I don't think it's a bad deal.
Oh, for $2,200?
For 2,200, they'll probably take 15. It's got 344K on it. There's no rust. And if it runs, starts, and drive, I think any car in this day and age that runs, starts, and drive is worth $1,500.
That's an
where we're at.
interesting perspective because
Right.
that hasn't been true in our world, like for my whole
For
life
a-
growing
yeah.
up. And by the way, I don't know if you've seen the other pictures, but when you say it doesn't have rust, maybe we should just scroll down a little bit.
Scroll down.
Because I kind of was trying to look for a spot.
Well, Ohio rust and California
Ohio
rust.
rust is two totally different things. This
Oh,
car is
that's
very-
probably true
this car
because
is-
I don't
see, and actually,
really know
so it
what rust
actually,
is.
if you scroll back up, it looks really good from that one angle.
Looks better. It looks better.
It doesn't look good from any angle.
It
Not
looks
even
better from that angle above there.
Look, I actually like this car. It's
So
just
I-
alarming. It's just alarming to see. It's just kind of hilarious
So
to see this picture.
I wouldn't pay 2,200 for it, but
No.
if somebody could get it anywhere from $1,000 to 1,500, because I know they probably took it on trade for like $500.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was
that.
thinking it was $200.
Exactly.
And I'll
They
tell you
prob-
why.
yeah.
Because dealers are lazy and they'll do something like, oh, we're in at $200. Just make it $2,200. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right,
I can
right.
see used car managers saying that. Like, just mark it up 10 times. Like, that's a good number.
I mean, if the
11 times actually.
if
excuse
the
me.
tires and brakes are good and it's like reasonably quiet, it's not an awful deal. And I know that sounds so
That's the
awful.
state of where we are now. Then you're saying. So you're saying that
Yeah.
the floor is 1,500 for something that's motile.
Yes, that's from a not dead brand.
Oh,
Like that Daewoo I had a Daewoo last year.
yeah.
And that was $800 and it only had $64,000 miles on it. And sure, it ran and drove, but like
It's a
I
Daewoo.
couldn't exactly, it was a
Where are you going to
Daewoo.
fix it?
No one's
I
searching for Daewoo.
couldn't find any parts for it.
Yeah.
Well, you could 3D print them like we learned last week.
Yeah.
Like I had to repair the filler neck on that car, and I think it was the last filler neck in the United States ever.
Well,
jeez.
that Daewoo.
Then I had
But
I had
even
to
like the OEMs that are still around, like no one makes those parts anymore.
No.
So
Yeah, it's
but
old.
look, if it's a Honda, it's obviously a lot easier to find than a
Yeah.
Daewoo, though.
Yeah.
yeah.
Goes without saying.
Not gonna be a lot of
I-
junkyards for Daewoods either, really. I bet.
No, that one I think went to a junkyard after I was
Gonna
done
look
with
up.
it.
Which Daewoo was this? The
I had a Lanos.
Lanos. Okay.
Let's see if I can find a
Yeah.
picture of it.
Yeah, I raced it and it exploded on track.
Oh, that's the way to go. Apply to hero.
That's good. I'm glad you did that. That's
Yeah.
It really did.
Uh,
It was yeah.
the Lanos.
is-
I remember that thing.
I just love this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that little guy. I didn't hate these actually.
I liked it too. I also, this is a car, I don't know, I've been kind of on a tirade. I feel like I've been driving a lot of bad shitbox vehicles lately. And I'm realizing the more I get in my career that auto journalists love to lie and they love to exaggerate. This car was nowhere near as bad as everybody made it out to be.
No, I believe that 100%. I don't think this thing was that bad at all. I remember these.
You know what? There are a lot of cars that are not as bad as journalists say they are. And I'm going to say one here that's you might not like, but I'm going to say the base model Dodge Journey. Not nearly as bad as people say it was. Oh,
I had one. Well, mine was a 3.5, but it was a 5-passenger. Nobody wanted it because like it didn't have that third row.
Yeah.
I think the Yugo is a perfect example, a more slightly older example of a car that's just not as bad as everyone claimed. Just not that bad.
Exactly. The Pinto. I have an iMeave. I drive an iMeave.
iMeaves, I always thought they were cool. I like remember there was a gas iMeave too, right? Like there was.
Well, that was a gas car first.
Right, which I think was I think it's a brilliant little car.
Oh my god, that's me on the forum. But yeah,
I think I really like these. I took
it to the track this past weekend, and it was actually like remarkably like competent.
Is that the cheapest used EV you can buy today?
No, I think you might be able to get a Leaf cheaper.
Oh, really?
I bought my iMeave broken, and it's super rare, so it's not like you're going to find another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many iMeaves did they make?
2,100, including Canada.
Oh wow, really not that many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I drove one when it came out too, and I was not overly impressed by it.
I mean, it's pretty terrible. After like years of like battery degradation, I'm good for about 40 miles now.
Okay.
Oh geez.
Like I did a test the other day, like when I first got it, like if you have the heat on max and the lights on and put your foot flat to the floor, I can top out at 81 miles an hour and go about 15 miles.
15 miles. That's amazing.
It was funny because I was doing the test. I was like, oh, I can make it back. And I looked down and said, oh shit, I can't. So I'm like,
what a great test.
I had to drive back with my hazard lights on and like the turtle light on because I didn't have enough range at like 30 miles an hour on the freeway.
Oh my god.
There's an actual turtle light in that car?
Yeah, it is.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. So we're finding the worst
turtle light. I mean, I
EV.
can figure out what turtle light probably means, but I'm not familiar with this.
It's just a low battery. I mean, pretty much I don't know if you've noticed, a lot of EVs have like a turtle light or like
on the dash. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like on the scooters, they have the ones so you don't run into people.
Conceit of the turtle and hair. Yeah.
Yes.
I love the turtle. Wow, the turtle light. They're cool.
It's such a quirky light. Like I love that. I would get it tattooed on me.
I think that's great.
Let's we should talk about actually before I go to that, Beau, have you ever sold, we were just poking fun at that dealership. Have you ever sold a car in that bad a shape?
No.
Okay. No, so is there a point where you're just like, this is embarrassing, just give that to your nephew?
Well, like for us, if it's a car that we don't think is going to be reliable for the customer, we're not going to sell it to them, right? So the thing you're always looking for is a cheap used car. That is gold. That is like everyone's dream is a good, cheap used car, something that can run. It doesn't have to look perfect. If we can get something for under $5,000, it's like the best. It's also the hardest car to find, literally. So that's why I was curious, Kevin, on some of your recommendations, because that's something we're always looking for. Of course, we're trepidatious because a lot of cars after a certain mileage, we're not too keen on selling that to somebody and then having to stand behind it. So that's why I was curious. What are the cars that you think are the best cheap used cars?
This is important, I think.
So we're talking under $5,000, you said?
I think let's go lower. I want some real like under 2,500. I say.
Yeah. What do you? Yeah. What you
so
pick
at 2,500 and below, I would say a Toyota Yaris.
Oh, okay.
I can see that.
They're getting cheap. Any sort of like the early Scion cars that's not a TC.
Oh yeah, I've had it.
Basically anything
that's not a TC.
Yeah, not a TC. The TC, see, people just blindly, glibly buy Toyota products and not realizing that they kind of made shit during the early 2000s.
What was the problem? Like, did they have oil burning problems?
Yes, they absolutely did. The 2AZ is an awful motor.
Yeah, I think I heard that.
Yeah, so I recommend anybody to buy any 1NZ powered Toyota vehicle. So that's a Prius, that's an Echo. They're kind of buzzy and like not very fast, but they don't really break. My roommate has an XB, first gen XB with 340K on it.
Yep.
Wow.
I just drove one up to Michigan on 3 cylinders and it did just fine.
Exactly. I've had 4 Yarises. Unfortunately.
Wow,
well, not unfortunately. I bought them out of choice. And a Toyota Echo.
I like the Echo. Echoes actually, those early Echoes I think are actually kind of cool looking in their own bizarre.
They are. I got it from a lady. I wrote about this for Car Bibles when it was still living. About like, I got it from a lady who she was the first person to buy a Toyota Echo in her town in 1999. She had every box checked except like sunroof.
Yeah. Was it the 2-door one?
No, it was a 4-door.
4-door one, huh?
And she had only had like 110,000 miles on it. They only wanted $600 for it because it had been sitting. They said, "Oh, we drove it last year," but you know when you get old and you kind of forget about like the concept of time. So really, last year was more like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
that's me.
I've heard that. I've heard that from old timers before. They're like, "Oh, it was just running," and then you look at the service papers, you're like, "No, it wasn't."
Well, the tires were from 2008.
Brand with
and
parts.
And it said like the last oil change was in like 2010. And she's like, "Oh, we drove it last year." And I'm like, I don't think she's lying to us. I think she legitimately thinks that 5 years ago was last year.
I know I do. I'm with her.
But that's a good one. I say that the Echo and the are probably like my go-to cars for people I know are not going to maintain anything. If you need anything bigger than that, that gets a little harder. I would say anything like a W body like GM car with the 3800 won't break.
Let's go sub 5,000. So like
sub 5,000.
Yeah, because sub 5,000 these days is like, even that's getting tough.
I would say any of the cheese wedge Civics are really good. So like 06 and up. But be careful with the first 2 model years because they crack blocks. Honda had some casting issues. So like they're in theory warranted, but I think they're now too old. But they still
Is this a cheese wedge?
Which one?
Hold on. Let's figure this out. All right. This thing here.
Yes. One of those. They look like wedges of cheese to me, or like door stops.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm with
aliens.
you.
I like those actually. I think those were cool.
I like those too. I think those are really solid budget options for
they had
people
a hatch
who don't
version
have
of this,
money.
right? Is it the with the manual? Did they have a manual that came out of the? Which one was that one? Or the
one before it.
One before it. Okay.
Yeah, Europe got a hatch, but it was like we didn't.
The European hatch is very cool. That one.
Yeah, it is. It's super cool.
Yeah.
The Honda Fit's always a solid choice, but they're kind of hard to find. They didn't sell that many.
Yeah.
You know what I recommend to a lot of people, and I want to know your opinion on this, Kevin. I recommend cars with the Mazda MZR /
No.
the 2.5. The 2.5.
Okay.
The 2.5 MZR engine. Also known as the Ford Duratec 25. So that's the Escape, as long as it's not in the Rust Belt. Ford Fusion and the Mazda 3 with the 2.5. What do you think about those?
So I think the 2.5 and the 2.0 are great. The 2.3 is awful, and I don't know why. So I've had like a couple of those Mazda 2.3s, and they just like spin bearings and like throw connecting rods, even if people like maintain them generally okay. And I don't know why. I think there's like some hardness issues. I don't know. But the 2.4, the 2.5 and the 2.0 are definitely like better engines. Matter of fact, for a lot of 2.3 owners, the 2.5 is actually a direct swap. So it's really common for like Mazda 3 owners that have the 2.3 that just blows up to get a 2.5 from the junkyard and just throw it right in there. I guess you don't even need like any like ECU wiring or anything. There's just like a couple accessories that you have to change, I think.
Wow.
So can you buy a 2.5 engine that's like less than the value of the car? I mean,
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And put it in and still be all right?
That's how I make my money.
Right on, yeah.
I mean, I've done this about 40 times, and I usually can get an engine. If the engine's not worth it, then I usually don't buy the car.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
One engine that's actually weirdly expensive that I wanted to write about, but I kind of have been like all over the place lately, is the 3.8 liter in the Hyundai Santa Fe.
Oh,
Not the current gen, but the long one, that 7-seat one.
All right, give
When
me
they
the model
split-
year.
2013. It's when they split the line into two. There's a Santa Fe Sport that was 5-passenger and turbo only, and then the regular Santa Fe, which is called Grand Santa Fe in certain markets, that seats 7, and it was V6 only.
Santa Fe.
They look similar, but they're not. So that it would be, you're hovering right over it.
Oh.
Not that one, the one below it. There we go. They look. I know they look the same, but they're really not.
yeah, I believe you.
See,
So-
figuring out
Do you know,
which
do you know
cars.
how much?
Yeah.
Do you know how much that used engine is?
No.
It's $7,000.
Why? Why is that?
I don't know. Because there was one that showed up on my Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of a cute little flip. And they only wanted like $3,000 for it, and I'm like, oh, $3,000 for a late model SUV. Like, how much is the engine? And it was $7,000.
That engine doesn't go in anything else that would be in demand, right? Like, why would it?
I think that's the problem. I think because they didn't make that many, and
Yeah.
the ones that they did make are shit, so there's not that many left.
It's just a scarcity problem.
Yeah.
How weird.
Yeah.
See, figuring out I always think of the used car market, especially the bottom of it, as just a minefield. Like,
Oh, it is.
there are so many traps that you can get caught into. Like, if you buy like a CVT Saturn View, your life is going to be over. If you buy like
Those don't exist anymore, but yes.
correct, yeah, exactly. You don't have to worry about those. Those have
Yeah,
already ended.
I miss
Been a problem.
Saturn.
Yeah, there are so many cars that could just wreck you, and you just don't. You have to research and you have to know it.
Yeah, it really is. It's crazy how like weirdly disposable and like non-user serviceable everything is now.
Yeah, that's bad.
I think it is too. I can't in good conscience recommend anybody buy a used Nissan, which is funny because I'm trying to sell one.
From what
Damn.
year?
It's like-
What does your for sale listing look like? Is it like,
I
I
haven't
would recommend buying this, but please?
Yeah,
I haven't even listed it yet because I've been like missing in action so much lately. But like, I had a friend who was like, "Oh, I'll buy it off you," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, but I never want to see this car again."
Yep.
It's a 20.
Well, that's one way to get rid of a friend.
Yeah.
Ooh, it was a 2012 Sentra, but it's a CVT.
Yeah.
And although the CVT is fine now, I know at 123K, it's probably not going to be fine.
That's the Achilles heel for those.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're also VIN locked.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait. So wait. Okay, explain that for our listeners.
So there's a lot of Nissan CVTs, and it's only a Nissan thing. The other manufacturers do not do this. You need a special software tool to program the CVT to the vehicle.
So if you swap in another CVT, it will not work because the VIN is different, and the computer
Yes.
knows this. Why
Correct,
would they do
yes.
that to us? That feels
Because it's so shady, isn't it?
It seems
It makes me. It's like, and then also like the CVTs, like you can't rebuild them because like there are no parts. Like if you go to a Nissan dealership and you say, "Hey, I want one of the steel belts," they're just gonna look at you.
yeah. It's
Because it's so frustrating. Like those cars are so disposable. I hate them.
so that would be like the Rogues use those things too, right?
Any sort of Jatco box. So the Dodge Caliber, pretty much a lot of like budget CVT cars. So Dodge Caliber, Chevy Spark, any Mitsubishi, Suzuki Kizashi, pretty much every Nissan, a few other manufacturers too.
Brutal.
It's awful. Like when these cars blow up, it's just like they're done.
Yeah.
Throw them away.
And it's because this affects the people who are the most vulnerable too. The people.
Oh, absolutely. People I've seen it so many times. They like, oh, let's look at this cute little Versa that's like only $3,500,
Right.
and they get like a month and a half out of it, and now it won't move forward.
Yeah.
Because like unlike
terrible.
a lot of, so that's one thing I don't like about CVTs. Like I don't mind driving CVTs. Like at least with a traditional automatic transmission, when it's failing, you can like half-ass it for a while.
Sure. Right.
Like, a slippy car or a car that slams, you can drive it around for a little bit. Like when CVTs fail, they often fail with like no warning.
Yeah.
And
And
they
it's
fail in-
catastrophic. You can't baby them around or anything.
Yeah, they fail in ways that just like it's undrivable now.
I think that's cruel. I think it's terrible because
It's literally awful. I don't, and there's like nothing you can really do about it too.
yeah, that's bad. And yeah, the people buying those cars are the ones who are in the worst positions. Everything about this is bad. How are we going to solve this, Kevin?
I don't know. I have been trying to figure out write a piece about it, and it's just not. I have
Don't
not
buy an
had
old
the time.
CVT.
But that's going to be everything soon.
Yeah.
I will say that like the Honda, the other brands are not like this. I had a friend who had a Honda Civic CVT that exploded, and the CVT was like $300, and it was like an afternoon swap away.
Right.
And now he's back on the road. But not every brand is like this.
Has anybody hacked
I feel,
the Nissan Vinlock stuff, or is
I've heard they have, but
Yeah.
I'm also scared that it like would fuck up your car. You know, like who knows? Who knows?
it's a whole other pain in the ass can of worms? Jesus, it's terrible.
It is. So that's why when I do recommend Nissans, I'm always like either get a manual or like make sure it has a planetary gear set automatic,
Right.
because they're like weirdly reliable. Like the lady I got this sensor from, she went 25,000 miles on an oil change.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then connecting rod number 1 decided it didn't want to be there anymore. So like the CVT was fine, but the engine wasn't. But the engine was only like, I think like $400 from a junkyard for a low mileage one with like 50K on it.
Oh.
You know what I usually recommend to people, like when they need a cheap car, is I tell them to get the most hideous car they can find with a stick shift, and that's usually
Yes,
the Chevy HHR,
absolutely.
a Chrysler PT Cruiser with low mileage, just anything with a stick shift.
So one thing I've noticed in this price range is that it seems like neglect, especially with those cheap cars, are taking those cars off the road rather than actual like mechanical robustness. You know what I mean? Like so many people, they just kind of like, oh, it's a cheap car, so I don't care. So like they just kind of drive it into the ground.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, oh, these cars are pieces of shit, when they actually like they kind of weren't. You just like didn't take care of it at all.
And that's honestly why Torch and I are such big fans of, like, when we see like a 1985 like Mercury Lynx at a car show.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that to me is cooler than like a Lamborghini, because the sports car got babied. The Mercury Lynx got whipped.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's always
Or a preserved mundane car is always a joy.
It
Yeah.
really is.
they're rare. They're hard.
Yeah.
That's one of the rarest cars in existence.
Yeah. It's true.
But perfectly maintained mundane.
I will say,
Horizon I saw in a junkyard once that was in perfect shape, and it broke my heart. It was in such good shape. Red interior. It was didn't deserve it.
you know what I do recommend? I recommend a lot of early Hyundai cars to people now. Well, not early.
Like
okay,
86, 87.
Okay,
That was a tough time for Hyundai.
maybe because I'm young. Early Hyundai to me is like 2001.
Oh, okay, all right. That's a totally different Hyundai.
Yeah, so I'm like,
Yeah,
they're like weirdly simple to work on.
Huh.
I would
and
not
it
recommend an 80s Hyundai, by the
Oh,
way.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, like I had a Tiburon that like
Oh, yeah.
Spider
Yeah.
face.
yeah, I had a Tiburon. It was an '08 that I got from a guy who blew it up because he just drove the piss out of it with no oil. So like it had a hole in the block.
Whoa.
And it was fun. It was funny because it's like, oh, I think it just needs a starter. And I'm like, sir, I can see the crankshaft, but okay. And I don't know, it was just like a weirdly sporty car. That's also another car that I think journalists were too mean to. Everybody told me it was like a bad driving car that was awful. And I'm like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, I can see
It was a 5-speed 2-liter. But like, I don't know, I just really liked it. And it was really easy to work on. Like I did struts within like an hour and a half on that thing.
They were cool. I thought they
were.
looked like everything else. The face was
weren't.
of a spider, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. They were.
Oh, you're talking about the Gen 1? Oh, those are ugly. I had the Gen 2.
Oh, okay. Well, they did look a lot better in Gen 2. The one
Yeah,
with the
they-
smaller
yeah.
lights on the outside and the bigger lights on the inside had a weird spider face, but
Yeah, it's like a
Oh.
discount Integra.
not boring though. Neither of them were like super boring. I thought they were interesting.
Also, another car that I recommend, even though they're like brittle as heck, probably be the Honda View. So any Saturn View
Oh, the
with the
Saturn
Honda
View with
V6,
it. Okay.
with the Honda V6.
Huh.
You're recommending a lot of Japanese cars, I'm noticing.
I don't like
Eh,
European cars, which is funny because I
What,
drive
what
a
about
Fiat every
American
day.
cars? There are lots of great American cars that you can buy that are pretty reliable.
Name one.
The Ford Fusion with the
That's
MZR
that's
engine,
Jap that's
the Ford Escape
Japanese.
with the MZR
That's
engine,
HHR,
that is
David? That
that.
HHR you
NAGM
bought?
GM 3800. What was that?
HHR that you bought for that guy.
The Chevrolet Tracker, as we know, that's an American car.
That's okay. Okay.
Um,
I mean, like, I feel like, especially like the American cars in this price range are like really, really problematic now. Like, for $1,500, you'll probably get like a Cadillac CTS with the 3.6, and then like you can probably do jump rope with the timing chain because it's so stretched out.
And that's a negative.
That's absolutely a negative.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, I have a hard time recommending like American cars in this price range that aren't like Chevy Cobalts, which aren't very good cars. I don't know if you guys have driven a Cobalt recently.
No.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I worked at two different Chevy dealers, and like I worked at them during like the ignition recall, and it was funny because like we would get trapped in them all the time because like the ignition the ignition cylinders would bind, and then like you couldn't turn the car off.
Oh boy.
Like, oh man. I don't know, they just don't make anything good.
Oh, David, just remembered, you promised everybody you were going to do a car show at a Walmart parking lot today on our website.
Okay, that's an 8. Okay, I'll be right back. I just got to quickly go to a Walmart parking lot. I'll be back, and yeah, I'll be right
I
back.
hope you're close to this Walmart parking lot.
You're not going to be back in this podcast.
Oh, I'll be back in the podcast. Give me
Will
11
you?
minutes.
11 minutes? Are you
I'll be
kidding?
right back. Yeah. Just hang in there.
So Kevin, I want to talk to you about this amazing article you had over on the drive about this electric Corvette prototype made by Motorola. Tell us about that thing. That thing's
So
nice and bonkers.
So it's crazy because like I was doing a lot of like bonkers shit.
Good.
Well, I was so since I work from home, I was like, I really don't want to live in Columbus, so let's like do this like weird trial run where I just like stay in cities for a week and see what it's like.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, let's do Chicago. That sounds cute. Chicago's only like 5 hours drive from me here in Columbus. And I was kind of trying to figure out a way to go there, but I didn't really have a good excuse to. And then a friend of mine, so this Corvette didn't actually come like right away. It came from another truck because I'm really, really into Chinese weird cars.
Sure.
And somehow this guy had a Fuji Beijing Jeep on his lot.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, and I had this like idea. I was like, oh, let's go drive it and see what it's like. So I called the guy and I'm like, hey, what's the story with this Fuji? And he's like, oh, you should come out and see it. And I'd let him know, I'm a journalist and like I'm doing all this stuff. And he's like, well, I'll do you one better. I've got this one of one Motorola Corvette. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, whatever, cool, whatever. Like that sounds kind of boring. I thought it honestly was going to be like a Motorola logo on the side of a Corvette.
Right. Just like a company badge car.
Yeah, just like a weird pace car or something. I'm like, okay, that's cool, whatever. Yeah. And then I get there and he shows me the Fuji, which is an unbridled piece of shit. Like it's rusting. It didn't run. But I guess somebody did get it running because I saw it on Twitter that somebody is floating around the Chicagoland area in it. So
Yeah.
I guess he did get it running and sell it. But when he showed me the Corvette, he popped the hood and I'm like, oh, this is you significantly undersold this.
So tell us about
Like,
this thing mechanically. What's the drivetrain of this thing?
so I'm working on some follow-ups. Actually, it's funny because I couldn't find out. I had been working on that piece for like a year. Like nobody would tell me. I couldn't find any like information about it. It effectively did not exist online.
Huh.
But yeah. So apparently underneath, it looks like it's some sort of proprietary electric motor from Motorola.
Okay.
Kind of all tied together by, I guess, sort of a dream team of folks who put together this car, kind of like almost in a skunkworks style, thing.
Do you know when it was probably put together?
So there was a like phone book's worth of documentation that came with the car.
Oh wow.
And honestly, I really couldn't I could only half parse through because I just don't know what it was. Like some of the things were actually done in pencil.
Yeah. I'm looking at It looks like late 90s seems to be the latest.
Yeah, so it looks like the development on it started in 93.
Huh.
I think the car itself was purchased in 94. And it looks like development stopped, I think, in 98.
Huh. Torch, can you share a picture of that?
Let me see. I tried to share my screen last time and we had trouble
Technical
with
difficulties.
It's crazy how stock that thing looks. Because if you look at it, it doesn't look like it's sagging or anything.
Huh.
So when the designers did it, they did like a really good job in making sure like the weight distribution was right. It even has like the same heater. Like it has like an electronic heater.
Yeah.
But the actual HVAC blower works because like it goes like it looks like it pumps like I think coolant through the stock vet's heater core.
Wow.
It's a really, really sophisticated setup.
No, this clearly is carefully done. I put the URL in the chat, and because for some reason I keep getting locked out when I try to share, but maybe
it felt that honestly the car felt like it was never supposed to leave Motorola.
How did it end up in a used car lot in Ohio? I don't know where you said.
Chicago. Gurney, Illinois. So like a little bit north of Chicago.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. The seller or the actual owner was like really, really flighty with like telling me it. He's like, oh yeah, then the guy just kind of gave it to me. And I'm like, I feel like there's more to this story.
It's gotta be. But you're right, it's packaged really
this guy just kind of gave you this prototype Corvette.
Yeah.
Electric. Yeah, just
I don't think that car was ever supposed to leave Motorola. Especially not with those documents.
And is it running nickel metal hydrides, you think? Or is it just
lead? It looks like it's just lead acid because it was 94. So they just got what they could from like the parts store.
Right.
Did it have like a built-in Motorola phone, like the big?
No.
Wouldn't that be cool?
No, but it's interesting. Like I said, I'm still working on a follow-up, but it's interesting how Motorola really just kind of dropped the ball on this.
Yeah. Well, considering because this was EV1 era, and this feels comparable,
comparatively better. Like when they actually gave me some specifications about it. They were like, I realized that like, man, Motorola, you guys are dumb. You guys were stupid.
Wow, look at that.
So a lot of the engineers, when this post kind of went viral a little bit and actually like jogged a lot of people's memories, because I was having a really hard time finding like the people who worked on it. Because like one guy's name was Chris Pratt. Like how am I gonna what happens when you Google Chris Pratt Motorola?
Yeah.
And Google, you're gonna get like phone ads.
Yeah.
But like it jogged a lot of memories, and people were like, I found out that a lot of these engineers ended up working on like other important EV projects.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This is amazing, and it looks like it's got a 4-speed manual in there still.
Yep, it goes to and then the overdrive actually works too because it's the old 4+3 Corvettes. It works. Everything works, or at least it did at one point in time. I'm not sure. So I'm trying to figure out like what was disabled, if anything. So there's definitely like a charge port missing.
Yeah.
But I think that might be it. I wonder if just like with modern batteries and just like a new charge port, it would drive again.
Are you still in touch with this guy?
Yeah.
Sorta?
I am. I have his number. I think he's trying to get a whole lot of money for it. So
we could.
Looks like there's a chart here where they're talking about the power outputs at various voltages, and it goes all the way up to 428 horsepower.
So it's crazy. So I asked them about that if that was a fake, and they said no, that's accurate.
For 93 in an EV.
Yeah, that is unheard. That is bonkers, right?
Yeah. Wow.
You would think somebody would be looking for this car, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, so what happened? So this is actually part of Motorola Automotive, which no longer exists. It was purchased off by Continental, I think 2006 or 2007.
Huh.
So
Mothership Motorola doesn't have records on any.
No, because I kept asking them about it, and they were just like, I don't know what this is.
So how much money is this guy trying to get for it?
I have no clue. He wanted to put it on Mecum, and I'm like, can you please let me write this story first? So I got the story. I got the story written. Things are in pencil. It's like so crazy.
I
Wow.
think it says just dick at the top.
Yeah, this is amazing. Wow, what a find.
That is. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, they actually like. I talked to the software guy. It seems like they actually put in effort to make the electronics talk to the standard Corvette like software. So like the window switches and like everything should work on that car, which
That's
is
really
amazing.
interesting.
That is amazing.
Yeah. Now this feels like professionals who knew what they were doing built this thing.
Yeah.
And there's no records of any project that they were working on. They never announced
So
it.
it's interesting because like after the people started getting in touch with me again, I ended up finding a very, very like one sentence like reference to the project on an old GeoCities site from like 1998.
Wow.
And it said
wow.
it was like the Chris Pratt, who was an engineer who also did like electric car racing on its own too. He like, and there was just like the car he was working on, and then it said, and it seems like Motorola's working on an electric Corvette. And that's the only mention of it anywhere on the internet.
Huh.
The mystery car.
Oh man. But yeah, he's a nice guy. I learned a lot from a lot of the things that he had. That was probably one of the stories that's honestly been one of the highlights of my career.
Awesome. Oh, that's what a find. I mean, that's beyond
was.
a unicorn right there. Right?
Yeah.
To score that. And
Very
where can we
me.
find you, Kevin? Where do we go to see more of your stuff?
So yeah, you can. Right now, I'm kind of in a lot of places, but you most likely can find me on Twitter at Gaytona_USA. Pretty much any place you see Gaytona USA, that's me.
Fantastic. Wait a minute. Is this David
Are you
Tracy
fucking serious?
coming in? Of course, now we're not. It's connecting to audio, so we're going to get one last pass at David here.
All right, here it is. One last.
Oh, we got David. Okay, back to the podcast then. All right, David, where are you at?
Sorry about this, folks. I am in Troy, Michigan at a Walmart parking lot, which is, we all know, the ultimate spot to have a car show. It's completely unsanctioned. Nobody has approved of this. It's just a bunch of readers in some great cars. Oh, look at this Polestar. And some special cars.
What is that?
Amazing.
This is, I think, is this a Camaro?
Yeah.
Well, it was a Camaro.
Okay, it's hard to tell what it is.
Yeah. It was a Camaro at one point.
It was okay. This is incredible.
It's like it's for everybody watching. It's like a Bahad out Camaro. What year would that be? That'd be like what, early 2000s era one?
No, that's like 96.
96. A little late. Okay, yeah.
99 Dirty Bird. He said it is
99 Dirty Bird, and it's all Bahad out, fenders cut away, front bumper replaced with the big bar. It's fantastic.
How many cars you got there at the show, David?
Let's see if we can count. All right, we got there's 3, 6. All right, looks like we're in the I think we're around 20-ish maybe.
That's great.
There's a Yugo.
Right.
All right. Yeah.
I know this Yugo, that little red Yugo has come to an Autopian meetup before. It's fantastic.
Love
K
that
car.
one.
Oh, look at this thing. It's mint in here.
Check her out.
Wow.
Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Wow.
Look at that guy.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever seen one of those.
Not that
clean.
nice.
Yeah, not
Holy
that
shit,
nice.
clean.
That's more than $2,500 right there.
Yeah, no, that's
Perfect.
You can't get a Yugo for what we're
Beautiful.
talking
No,
about.
you can't.
Not that
Nope.
that one. Not that one.
And we got the K car. That's a later K car. That's like the facelifted one.
Yes, it is. It's great.
Yeah,
The fancy one.
great.
And I have to show you because it's incredible. I can't believe it. Someone actually brought an Airstream, which is unbelievable. I can't believe someone brought an Airstream. This is clearly a Mercedes Streeter fan here.
Yeah, to an impromptu car show. That's a
Is it nice
that's a
inside?
lot of
Can we
work.
see? Can we
I
see?
was told I'm allowed to go inside.
Oh,
you go.
look
Oh,
at
it's
that.
beautiful inside.
That's really nice.
That
Jeez.
is gorgeous.
Wow. Check this out. What's your name? Eric. Eric, hi. I'm David. Do you mind just giving us just a sort of a 20-second tour here?
Well, you can kind of see it all. Bed, bathroom, couch.
But it's lovely, like all lovely polished wood, and there's
I
a
see.
rug on the
Beautiful.
floor. It all looks so tidy and well kept.
That's really nice.
Yeah, so that's the bathroom in the corner. This is the bed. Here's the kitchen. This is
I
actually
can crash
really nice.
there. That'd be great.
Are you just going to spend the night in that Walmart parking lot there? Ask him if that's his
Yeah, you
plan.
can.
No, probably not.
All right.
Winterize this weekend, so like had to pull it out, give it a wash and a wax anyway. So
You're best in
it's
show,
so
right?
cool you
Without
brought it.
question.
I don't know about that. There's always good stuff here.
No, thanks a lot for bringing this.
Sure. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm on the podcast, so I'm trying to show the cars quickly. So we'll talk later. All right, let's okay, look at this RX-7 here.
Yeah, nice.
Jack, my former coworker from Chrysler, is here.
Oh,
Engineer.
fantastic.
We haven't seen each other in about almost 10 years. And this is just an absolutely beautiful RX-7.
Oh,
Heavily
that's cool
modified.
stuff. All right, dude. Oh, and a Mach-E. You got all kinds of good stuff over there.
There's a nice Mach-E.
Yeah.
And look at this. We'll probably
body.
conclude. We'll
Oh,
conclude
and
here on this.
the kit little Tykes cozy coupe.
You gotta love the little
Tykes.
Tykes.
Man, I love it. So
Oh,
Yeah,
adorable.
that's fantastic.
All right.
Fantastic.
Okay. Well, anyway, just wanted to show you these cars. Readers here are in Detroit are really passionate about their cars. Nobody has gotten mad at us about our website, so we're doing something right. But anyway, yeah, I guess that'll probably be the end of this podcast, I would guess.
Yeah,
we're
it is. I think we're wrapping it
I
up
got a
here.
hungry kid and wife yelling at me, so we got to do it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Thank you, Kevin, for hanging out with us and talking used cars and shit boxes, and
Yes.
it's always good hanging out.
We appreciate it,
Anytime.
Kevin.
Thank you, sir. And how
Anytime.
do people see what you're doing today?
Awesome. Yeah, you'll probably be able to follow me mostly on Twitter. So Gaytona_USA or Gaytona USA. Any place you see Gaytona USA, like Daytona but gay. That's
Right. That's your
All
brain.
right, on.
All right.
Easy to remember.
We know how to find you.
Yeah, very easy.
Well, thank you all for listening to the Autopian podcast. Torch, anything to wrap us up here today?
I have to demand everyone subscribe, like all those things. Any possible way of subscribing, I'm going to have to sternly demand you do so.
Wait, we got a Lamborghini at this car show now. What
Oh,
is going
geez.
on at the Walmart
Yeah.
parking lot?
Next to the TR7.
Right?
You go Lamborghini. It's not that.
Oh, geez, this is fantastic. Wow, what
Get
a
the
car
Yugo
show.
to park next to him and ding the door. All right, everybody.
Great job, David.
Awesome.
Great job, everyone.